much, and hello everyone, and welcome to Community Talk number 29. My name is Colson, and I will be hosting today's Community Talk. We have an exciting agenda today, filled with some amazing community updates and some wonderful segments, which include the new era of the graph, updates from Graphrica, the new upgrade indexer, and updates from Tenderize. Before we get into these segments, let me share a couple community updates with you. So DevConnect just took place last week in Istanbul, and the Graph was there and hosted Datapalooza. The event covered R&D and tooling in the Graph ecosystem and across Web3. And it focused on use cases for dApps, analytics, tooling, LLMs, and more. And luckily for everybody that could not attend the event, all of the sessions were recorded and were uploaded to YouTube. So we are gonna share the link to that YouTube recording in the comments here and in the description of the recording. And I would like to give a shout out to all of the volunteers that helped out to make Datapalooza a really big success. During the DevConnect week, Andrea, who is in the call with us right now as well, hosted a Graph Advocate meetup. And the event was a big hit. A lot of advocates came, and it was a great opportunity for all of the Graph advocates in Istanbul and that flew into Istanbul to get to know each other even better and align on scope for future contributions. So I thank you so much, Andrea, for hosting that. I will now be passing the mic to our first speaker, Paula Diomede, who will tell us more about the new era of the graph. Paula, what can you share with us?
Hi, hello everyone. Hi. So actually, this was for Pedro to share, this updated roadmap. But since Pedro is traveling back from Istanbul, so I will replace him. So that is very, honored to replace our very own Pedro. So that is, so I want to give an update because as you may know, so on November the 7th, so the Graph announced the new era, so the new roadmap. So we are approaching now the third anniversary in December of the Graph, so 3 years that we are live with the decentralized network. And now we have also this updated roadmap that actually is a journey for the next year. So basically, this journey is about 5 pillars that are highlighted here on the graph.com/roadmap for everyone to see. So this page is pretty, exhaustive and providing a lot of information on these 5 pillars. So for example, like clicking on one, there is a list of a lot of initiatives. So some of them are already in progress. Some of them, as said, is like a long journey. So it will be like in the next years. But for most of this, so we are really pretty advanced. So what we have here basically on this 5 pillars. So, sorry, this is not Web Summit. Okay, so basically the goal is this so it's the beginning of a new chapter. So what we realized that, so today the graph is serving mainly on-chain data, but this is just, the one use case for the graph. So what we built with this infrastructure, with this ecosystem, is also the possibility to support a lot of new universe of data. So this journey is going to culminate in a new graph, in a complete new protocol, supporting a lot of new query languages and also a lot of use cases. So let's see, so the 5 pillars. So the first one that we already know is the world of data services. So this is about expanding beyond subgraph. So in this technology we have already, so we probably already know this name like Firos and substreams. They are the most important technology to extract data, Firos to extract data, and substream to transform data in a way that is way faster than the original, design of the graph protocol. So, and this is fundamental for this new world of serving new data services. And at the same time, we will have the possibility to query with new languages. So today we know that GraphQL is the way developers need to query data on the graph, but now we are having prototype using SQL to also do fast queries on the graph network. So the world of data services means serving a lot of other data. For example, to serve file data services, that is a huge marketplace. So the possibility to index file, database. And so on this pillar, the world of data services is really huge. And in this pillar, there is also the chain integration process. That is the new model for the new proposal to integrate new chains. And we have already like also Starknet, Optimism, Ronin Chain. So everything now is public on the forum of the graph, where you can see where new protocols can propose themselves to get integrated, they start the conversation, and then the team reach out to them. So it's everything open and transparent. But I just highlighted here in this pillar of World of Data Services just 4 or 5 items. But if you go on the website, on the graph.com/roadmap, you can see a lot of more here. So, and have more information on each topic here, on each task of this roadmap. So another one, for example, is the developer empowerment is another big pillar of this. And this is basically regarding a new billing system that is very much need for improving, the developer experience. And another one is also the sunrise of the decentralized data. I think this will be another section, and Derek will talk later. This is around the upgrade indexer that is really a pivotal moment for the network, because it will help to sunset the hosted services. That actually is the biggest competitor today for the graph. Is we are ourselves with the hosted service. So the upgrade indexer will be a super important step on the evolution for the decentralized network. And also we are going also to have more tools for developers for new substreams tooling. So already on Streaming Fast, on their website, they have already published several new tools. So this is all the pillar that is about empower developers, because the goal is also to build, a protocol that is frictionless, and it gives possibility to developer to easy to use, to simply use the protocol. And another third pillar is the protocol evolution and resiliency. And this is quite a big bucket here. And one of this is Graph Horizon that was announced a month ago. So this is it's a long-term journey, the Graph Horizon, to reshape the protocol and create a more permissionless protocol, both in terms of governance and also in terms of the technology stack. So for everyone that can have the chance to cooperate even more than today, because today we have still something that is still centralized, but so the project of Graph Horizon is to have all decentralized. So it's a huge project, this one. And also another one is this one is Scalar tab for micropayments. Because if we think that, the graph with now when we will see more and more query fees and more query from application, so we will need to handle enormous amount of micropayments. Of course, we cannot do on chain, even if we are now migrating to Arbitrum, because there are so many micropayments. So we needed to develop a new payment system. And this is one of the work of one of the core developers team is Semiotic. It's a work they started like a year and a half ago, and they are almost close to the end of this project, and it will redefine a new way, a new trustless system for micropayment for indexers and consumer. And another big bucket is the optimize indexer performance. For example, we know that we are now doing already. So this project, the Arbitrum migration, is already, in progress. So what we see in this roadmap, part of the roadmap is already undergoing. So we have now like 50% of the total reward are already on Arbitrum. And so that is a big important step to reduce also the operating cost for indexers. And another one is also the new indexer stack. This is something that is also handled by another core developers team that is GraphOPS. And every Wednesday, so there is this Launchpad office hours, because Launchpad is their new indexer stack. So if you want to run an indexer node and you want to have a super, rock solid environment to run your node. So the Launchpad is one of the initiative of GraphOps, and so every Wednesday they meet on Discord server here. And then another fifth box is the internal connected graph of data. So actually on creating some tools for curating and organize this information in a knowledge graph. And probably already your browser, that one of the biggest initiative that is built on on the graph network using substreams and to provide some tool for also like end users tool. But as said, I mean, this roadmap is also, I wanted also to show you just a quick slide before going to the end, because we are talking also about new query languages. Today, so when we think about the graph, we think about GraphQL and we think about DApp developers. But because this initiative, we want to extend beyond other data services and beyond other languages. So there is also this new tool is from Semiotic Labs. So you can also go on agentc.xyz and there is a waiting list also you can join. So what is this? So in this case, this is a prototype built only on Uniswap subgraph. So you can do query in natural language, and this query are going to be translated in SQL. So from natural language to SQL, you can query, in this case, the Uniswap subgraph. But this can go now beyond and querying a lot of other contracts. And you see, I mean, it's very easy to use. For example, okay, I just took some example that I ran yesterday. So for example, like when I swapped last time GRT with my wallet, and this the response. So, or I can say, okay, what is my latest token swap of my wallet? So it's very easy to use, and it's just to demonstrate that. So what is in the roadmap is already in progress, and yeah, I mean, I just invite you to go and look forward here on graph.com/roadmap, and you will find a lot of information. And also there is also a full blog post here where you can click and get even more details. And anything you need, you can reach out to us in Discord or in the public forum. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paolo, and I'm glad that we're going to hear more from you later on this episode. But before we do that, I would like to bring some attention to all of the new GRTIQ podcast episodes. We had episode 139 with Antoine Chaperon, who is the CEO and co-founder of UNCX Network, a pioneering provider of DeFi services known for its innovative and automated token solution. So check that one out. We're going to share all these links in the chat as well. Then 140, which was with me, was very cool experience to be on the GRTIQ episode. And then we had 141 with SD, or Esther who's in the call right now, who is a Graph Advocate and a member of Graph Advocates now. We had episode 142 with Tegan Klein, new CEO and co-founder at Edgenode, and of course we all know her. So definitely check out that episode as well. And then we had 143 with Michaela Nunes, who is the engineering manager at Edgenode. Also a really cool episode. So we will be sharing those in the chat, and I hope you'll check this out. And then its next speaker will be Mac from Graphrica, and he will be sharing the recent developments in the Graphrica community with us. So, Mac, can I put you the mic?
You can. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. I'm going to share my screen, just do a little bit of a presentation. If anybody would like to ask questions, they're more than welcome to pop them in the chat or message me directly. So I've been given an opportunity to talk a little bit about the Graphrica event schedule for the end of the year, which is coming very swiftly to a close, but obviously these will carry on into the new year, and very short and sweet, but what we really focus on in Graphrica is giving a platform for new members, into the newcomers to the graph community, to get an idea about what the graph is, right? Because a lot of people who look from the outside, they do not understand. They see the GRT token. They don't really go through the different aspects of what the graph is. They maybe read the one-liner on the website. So what we really endeavor to do is create a kind of a community which allows developers and anybody in the Web3 ecosystem, even if they're new to the Web3 ecosystem, to be able to learn about the graph, get a good introductory footing in the graph, to understand where they can continue their journey within inside the graph community, as well as learning subgraph and substream development. So really the breakdown of the events that we run, and we've been doing these for a very long time. mostly is Lean Coffee. Has been one that we've been running for many, many years. I think we just recently had our 60th Lean Coffee session. And we'll go into the different events and what they are after this. So we run Lean Coffee sessions. We run an introduction to the Graph session as well. And this is really for any newcomer to the ecosystem or to Web3, and also for anybody who would like a refresher on the Graph. We do code along sessions. So we have been doing master classes in subgraph and substream development in the past, but it's really, really hard to try and get a cohort of developers to consistently come to the same time slot. So what we decided to do is to just really open up the doors and do these code along sessions in the public, and don't require anybody to do sign up. Really, we just open it up to anybody who is willing to jump into the session, who wants to come and build and learn with us. And then we are very excited to also announce that we will be running another SG Hack. So SG Hack was run earlier this year, and it was a subgraph hackathon, which did really, really, really well. It was, community funded from the lots of different teams inside the Graph community, and community coordinated. We had a week's worth of talks. So we really want to try and run this in Q1 of 2024. As Graphrica, we also do a lot of presentations and calls for other communities in the ecosystem. Most recently, we did a session for Web3 Africa, doing the introduction to the Graph there. We were going to be doing a session for the Graph Nigeria. I think it's a part of the campus tour. I could be wrong, but I'm organizing that with Mr. Hassan. That'll be on Thursday and also on the 30th. And then on Friday, I will be doing a 2-hour workshop at CryptoFest, which is a Web3 conference here in Cape Town. So I'll be doing a 2-hour workshop on the Graph and on subgraphs and substreams, which I'm looking forward to a lot, which is going to be a big one for me, because we don't really have that much, we don't really have that many opportunities locally here to do big workshops and big talks. So we really are very excited about that. As always, if anybody would like to suggest events to us, we can always organize them. And why do we always do this? It's because it's part of our commitment to the decentralized future. So to break down the events, Lean Coffee, what it is a guided discussion where attendees choose the topics. Essentially, we start off with an easy retro board or a Lean Coffee board. We spend the first 10 minutes adding topics which are hidden, so no one can kind of be biased by anybody else's. So you can ask any question, you can make any statement, basically bring up any topic that you want to discuss. After the 10 minutes, we vote on these topics, and we go from the highest voted to lowest voted, give each topic about 8 minutes, and it is coordinated it's coordinated and run by us. But really, the attendees get to pick and discuss any topics that they like and ask any questions. We run the session twice a month, usually on Mondays, and it's normally at about 3 p.m. UTC. The intro to the Graph really is for any newcomers or anybody who wants to get a refresher. We cover what the Graph is and all the core teams within the Graph and a little bit of history about the Graph. We introduce the main DAOs like Advocates DAO, Builders DAO, Infra DAO, or formerly known as Indexer DAO, and how to get involved and why to get involved with them. We explain what problems the Graph solves for developers and dApps, why it exists and why it is so great. We introduce the 4 different roles within the Graph ecosystem, which is the developer of substreams and subgraphs, the indexer, the curator, and the delegator, and how to become one of these roles, one or many of these roles, and what it would require. We touch a little bit on what a subgraph is and what a substream is, how they are built, and what the different components of those are. And we run the session twice a month as well, and it is always updated with new information. Our code along sessions. So these are where we run through how to build and implement subgraphs and substreams, right? So anybody's welcome for these. We have beginner and advanced sessions. We run some of the sessions that you can kind of expect from us is building your first subgraph or building your first substream, how to use the Graph client, and then also getting a little bit more into the intermediate and advanced features as we go. And as always, if anybody requests a specific session for this. So if someone has requested that I go over all the data types that are available within a subgraph in the next session, that's what we'll be doing. So if anybody is like, I would like to really do this, then we will prepare that session and we will be going through that session. And this is where you could open up your VS Code or open up your IDE and code with us, so you can get hands-on experience in building a subgraph. And last but not least, I'm very excited to announce a very early announcement that we will be organizing SG Hack for next year, the next one. SG Hack number 1 was a great success. We put together $9,500 worth of bounties that were up for grabs. 4 subgraphs were developed and finished during the hackathon in 1 week by the contestants or by the attendees, and all of them ended up on the decentralized network. We also had 3 Dapplica dashboards created, and the next SG Hack won't run over 1 week. We'll probably go run it over 2 weeks, a little bit more, and we are currently sourcing more bounties. Thank you very much for your time. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me. Otherwise, if you would like to join Graphrica's Discord, you can join by going to graphrica.org or follow us on Twitter.
Mac, I maybe have a question for you. I think there's a lot of excitement about the SG Hack, and I'm wondering where could people follow up with that announcement, and where could they possibly sign up when that is available?
This is very, very early. We'll probably be putting it on our website closer to mid-December. If we just have started organizing it, so everyone here is hearing about it for the first time. So that's why we say watch the space. More is coming soon.
Amazing. Yeah, Christina just shared the link to the website, so I think that's perfect. And there are a lot of hearts in the chat for you, so thank you so much for being here and all that you are doing.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks a lot.
All right, and the man that's making all the noise in the chat or in the voice activations, Derek from Data Nexus will share updates and information about the recent introduction of the upgrade indexer. Derek.
Hey, that was supposed to be the woohoo Homer soundboard, not the dose Homer soundboard. But there you go. Yeah, so I'm going to chat on the upgrade indexer, kind of what that means for the graph ecosystem, what it means for subgraph developers, and why that's important for delegators and community supporters to understand. So currently, in the graph's current state, the hosted service supports many different networks. Which is great. People on other networks can build subgraphs, deploy them, get used to the technology, help provide feedback, help us improve the technology, all that type of stuff. But now we're starting that transition to bring things onto the decentralized network, which is good because ultimately that's where our protocol exists. That's where everything happens. That's where the economics of indexers and delegated, right? All of us, we take place on the decentralized network, not necessarily on the hosted service. But we've currently had this limitation where the graph network or the decentralized network only supports so many chains. If I recall correctly, I think it's 7 chains, whereas the hosted service, it's easy to lose count how many chains, something like 30 or 40 or something, including test nets. So here's what that means as a subgraph developer. Let's say I deploy a protocol or I deploy a decentralized application, and I have it on 4 different networks, and one of those 4 is not supported by the decentralized network. I then have to split up my workflows to have some of my subgraphs going to the hosted service because it's not available on the decentralized network, and some of my subgraphs going to the decentralized network. Or I can opt to just have all of them go to the hosted service, right? And typically it's a lot easier to just have all of them live in one place to manage everything. That's a very, very common thing. Yeah, Paolo, thank you. 8 chains versus 40 plus chains. So with the upgrade indexer, this is really kind of like the first step of migrating everyone from the hosted service over to the decentralized network. And that starts with building out certain user experience or developer experience tools to where someone who is on their subgraph page in the hosted service has an easy let's upgrade this over to the studio so that you can then publish it to the decentralized network, right? Simple one-click type of thing so that they can go from the hosted service to the studio. The studio being kind of the preparatory space where you can, check your subgraph, make sure your data is all straight, and then once it's good to go, you can deploy it to the decentralized network. So having a simple developer experience to go from the hosted service over to the studio is ultimately what's going to help transition a lot of these guys over. And then all of the networks that the hosted service supports that the Graph network doesn't support, that's going to be enabled. And from what I've gathered so far, the way that looks in its kind of current settings is that we would be able to deploy subgraphs on a multitude of networks. Not all of them would necessarily earn indexer rewards, but they could serve queries and you could earn query fees. So after a chain has sufficient support and through community governance, we can then enable indexing rewards for specific chains. But that shouldn't necessarily stop a consumer from utilizing the decentralized network, even if it's not there. So, for example, if Uniswap came along and they're like, "Hey, we want to go deploy on some random chain that we just decided to support," we should be able to service that, and we should be able to serve the query fees for that. And after that chain has enough support amongst the different indexers, so it has a high volume of queries and a high volume of indexer support, then we can enable indexing rewards to better facilitate indexing subgraphs on that chain. So we're going from the hosted service, right? We enable a bunch of chains, we bring people into the studio, they can deploy them, we can immediately start serving queries, and through governance, we can turn on indexing rewards for specific chains, which that's all great. The next step of this is, let's say that you had a bunch of subgraphs that can't get indexing rewards, but they do have a high volume of query traffic intended. The next question is like, okay, well, who's the first indexer to go and support that? It's one thing like at Data Nexus, if we saw another indexer claim a bunch of queries on a subgraph, we would look at that and be like, oh, maybe we should go support that one. It's got revenue flowing through and a healthy volume. But if the subgraph can't have indexing rewards, you kind of run this problem of like, okay, well, who's going to be the first one to check and see if volume is there or isn't there? And that's where the upgrade indexer comes in, right? This indexer is going to be run by Edge and Node, and potentially other people might be following suit with similar activities, and that's basically to support different subgraphs that are deployed on the network as soon as they're getting published. The really cool thing specifically with Edge and Node's upgrade indexer is that they will already be syncing the information by the time it gets deployed onto the studio. So I, as a subgraph developer, let's say I've got a new version of my subgraph. I'm really excited. I need to check and make sure that it doesn't break, that my data is accurate, all that stuff. I go and deploy it to the subgraph studio. It then syncs. I test all my data, and then I'm like, hey, this is looking spick and span. Very excited. Let me deploy this to the decentralized network. Edge and Node is already synced to this information. And so the upgrade indexer should be able to then just say, great, I'm going to place an allocation, and you can query it right now. No need to wait for wait for everyone else to sync it, because we already did that once. You already confirmed that the data is fine. So we'll just copy that data or potentially utilize the same database for queries. I don't know under the hood on how they are going to set that up, but either way, once you publish it, you can have immediate support for queries, which is a huge developer improvement, because oftentimes you get excited, you're like, great, I'm going to go deploy this. But then you see like, oh, okay, it needs to sync. And for large subgraphs, that can take a while. For small subgraphs, obviously, that's really quick. But having the immediate support, that way developers can utilize it right away, is going to be a huge quality of life improvement. So couple key things to note is that there's lots of new networks coming to the decentralized network, which is going to be very, very helpful for people, for basically every application that has subgraphs deployed across multiple chains. And as they're deploying, we can reutilize some of the syncing efforts that have already occurred to get them faster support so they can start using the graph and be active consumers faster. So all in all, it should be very exciting. Got a lot of fun stuff coming up, and can't wait to see it live.
Thank you so much, Derek. For our next thank you. Nice. Cool. For our next segment, Paulo is going to be back and he'll be speaking to us about his experiences at Web Summit 23.
Yeah, I'm sharing my screen. Can you see the screen?
There we go.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, can you see Web Summit? Yeah. So during the week in Istanbul, so while all the crypto community was in Istanbul, so we were at Web Summit. So a small team from the Graph Foundation and the advocates. And Web Summit is a huge conference. So there were more than 70,000 attendees from 153 countries, and really, I mean, huge in 5 big pavilion. And there were like 321 sponsors, and the Graph was there. So actually, we were also good. I mean, lucky to have a very good position in our booth because it was exactly in the center of one of pavilion. So it was really an interesting event. And we also had our own POAP, yeah. And we also mint quite a lot of POAP, 131 POAP, and this is quite a lot because the majority of the people that came up the booth, so this is a non-Web3 event, so like 90% they never heard the term Web3, like 50%, so they knew something about blockchain, but actually they didn't know what is blockchain. I mean, they know, okay, it's storing data. Of course, everyone knows about Bitcoin, even if they didn't connect Bitcoin with blockchain. So the interesting part here that is a lot of education here. So like we saw a lot of haha moments on people when they connected, when you start to say, okay, Bitcoin is a blockchain, and then you can store, information and also run application on top of blockchain. And the interesting part was that there were also a lot of people like also let's say, people that were already building application, they wanted to evaluate blockchain, but they didn't know that they could run even an application on top and deploy application. And they were really, I mean, surprised on the evolution of the technology and also what the graph is doing. So a lot of people were thinking, okay, maybe I can deploy this new application, I can do an experiment. So in a lot of use cases like insurance company, or it was another company that was building for recycling, and so they need to store a lot of data, and storing a lot of data is expensive, and they also want to have permanent storage. So I mean, it was really interesting. And also, this is our booth, was our booth. We were okay with Margarita from the Advocates Program. So this is also something important because this is a kind of initiative where advocates can come, also not super technical advocates, so can come and teach people about Web3. And we had also Leo from AGNO, there was a Rim, Matt, and myself from the Graph Foundation. Uh, I mean, the important part of this event that is also force you to think differently from the user perspective, because often I see we are very much into the details sometimes, when we talk about small details about technology and all the stuff that we often talk. But then when we go up, like an up level, and we see that we need to explain these things to people totally outside, so it's really cool because you can really, you need to force yourself to teach stuff in a very simple way, and also, to abstract a lot all these complex concepts. So that is, I think, the really cool part to go in this non-Web3 event. So it's really, I mean, it's also a good learning experience for people at the booth, because every time people come, and so you tend always to simplify, and then, you see people really having this moment and understanding that, this blockchain and Web3 is really, the next step of this, digital revolution that we are building. And so some nice photos from the booth. The booth was really, I mean, so crowded. We were like 5 people, and actually we didn't have a proper shift at the booth because it was not possible, to take any break because, the amount of people attending this event is massive. So it was always people at the booth, apart from just lunchtime and maybe just less people. But, the amount of people were really massive. Even the first day, we didn't have any swag, any t-shirt because they didn't deliver on time. But then, of course, from the second day, there were even more people because, of course, we had very nice t-shirts too. But yeah, all the people wanted to understand, okay, what the graph is doing and, what is this, blockchain and Web3. So yeah, very interesting. So yeah, we had also our POAP, and all people try to mint the POAP with the fingers, of course, but it was something new, this POAP, but it was also to show, an application built on blockchain, talking about NFT. And so, yeah, it was a really interesting conference to go. And so I welcome also, for example, this is very cool also for advocates to go in this kind of conference. So yeah, it was a nice time.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And I
Thank
hope you guys had some rest after those crazy days.
Yeah, thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And now that Paolo mentioned that there were POAPs distributed at the event, we will also be distributing a POAP for this one. So we will take down all of your names and then we will send the POAP to you by DM. So be aware of that, and you'll probably get a message from Lorena pretty soon. So for our last segment, we will be hearing from Tenderize, who we have had before on the community talk. They have some great updates to share with us, and I will pass the microphone to Salim now to hear about them.
Thank you very much, Colson, for inviting us again. I'll share my screen 1 second.
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, great. Yeah, for the people that haven't heard about Tenderize before, Tenderize is a protocol that's almost live for 2 years now. We're actually Wave 2 grantee from the Graph, and a very early supporter for the Graph ecosystem and actually enabling liquid staking for GRT. So Tenderize launched with Tenderize V1 around 18 months ago. And since we launched, we talked with the community, with indexers, and all the networks that we support, live per Polygon in the Graph, and learned a lot of new things. So all those learnings we have taken and put into work for Tenderize V2, which you can see here in the dashboard. We launched last week with our testnet, public testnet. And I actually want to give you guys an opportunity to look into the experience of liquid staking with Tenderize. So real short, what we're doing with Tenderize V2 is we are enabling validator-specific liquid stake tokens. So let's do a few actions. Let's say we are a GRT holder. We navigate to the Graph network and navigate to the staking section. So what you can see here is you can look for your favorite indexer. Let's say StakeSquid, DataNexus, and you can actually very easily start staking towards the index you love. So let's do 100 GRT with DataNexus. I'll sign the transaction on MetaMask and we'll confirm it in the second one. So liquid staking to Tenderize is that easy. You are able to also unstake, which is a way that you can instantly do so. Or if you don't like the slippage, we also have an option to just natively unstake your GRT and get your GRT back that way. So for example, how does it look like if you want to instantly unstake? We navigate to the GRT we just deposited with DataNexus. We instantly unstake it here. You'll see the fees you'll be paying for this transaction. Instead of waiting a month, you just swap it through our tender swap. We sign the transaction. We then confirm it. And there you go, you're liquid. So if you would like to unstake it, let's do that. Let's unstake 100 more. I'll sign a transaction and confirm it. So what you can see here is that in the balances overview, you can actually see where you have staked your GRT. And the GRT that I just unstaked with data access is listed here as in we have a waiting time of around 3 weeks before we can unstake. To give you an example of how this changed when 3 weeks pass, I have some actions on the Polygon network, which is similar. It will show like a button that's yellow, which you can click. And if you can click, you can actually redraw your tokens when the unbonding period has passed. So you click on the button and there you go. You'll get your tokens back that way by confirming the transaction, and voila. So we are really excited about going live soon. Tenderize V2 is planned to go live in about plus minus 6 weeks from today. And we actually would love to welcome more indexers to our launch. We can actually prioritize indexers that are actively collaborating with us on launch by putting them on top of the list here in our terminal. And if you're interested to join the indexers that already are partnering with us, like DataNexus, TakeSquid, GraphOps, and a few others, we'd love to talk with you. You can just send me a DM and I can walk you through the ways how we can collaborate, do some co-marketing and help decentralize and grow the Graph ecosystem. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Salim. There were a lot of people in the chat talking, so I will check really quickly. Is there any questions for you? I think everybody was just very happy.
Yeah, happy to answer any questions you guys might have. Thank you for posting the testnet link, Paolo. And yeah, have fun with it. And we would love to hear your feedback on how we can improve the product. Because of all the feedback we got, we actually made an amazing upgrade on Tenderize V1, which is Tenderize V2 right now. And are planning to improve on the experience anytime we hear great feedback.
There is a question for you in the chat room. It says, is delegation with Tenderize on Arbitrum exclusive?
Yes, that's correct. So we'll be live on Arbitrum only. And this is something we decided because you guys were very quick with the migration, which we are happy about. If you need any help going through testnet, don't hesitate and just send me a message. Happy to walk you through it one-on-one.
There's another question from Paulo. He asked, so also Polygon liquid staking. If that's not clear, I will ask him to
Yeah, so
more specific.
Tenderize will be supporting 3 networks. That's LivePeer, Polygon, and the Graph on launch. And when we launch in about 6 weeks from now, we'll also focus on the first feature for LSTs, and that is borrowing against your staked positions. So it will enable you to capitalize on your cash flow, lend with your GRT without unstaking them, and use that in DeFi, and actually pay your loans back with your staking rewards. And after that, we'll be adding new networks, starting with Ethereum, and expand to other networks after that.
Amazing. There is a follow-up question by Paulo in the chat and also by Derek, but I'm not quite sure if I understand them, so maybe you can read them yourself.
Yes, sure. So Paulo's asking if liquid staking tokens is on Arbitrum.
Yeah.
No, Polygon will be on mainnet. We'll do a new testnet update in the coming weeks to represent the networks Arbitrum and mainnet separately for Polygon. So that LivePeer will be on Arbitrum testnet and Polygon on mainnet. Gurley. Yeah, the question here from Derek is, will you be allowed to borrow against your GRT? Yes, this is something that we are very excited about because we can actually give indexers and delegators a way to borrow against their staked assets, maintain staked, and actually utilize your cash flow in a more efficient way.
All right, there's another follow-up question from Derek.
Yes, you're free to do what you want with the stablecoins you borrowed. You can leverage your stake position or do other things with it, like invest in your indexing operation by buying hardware or hiring new teammates to maintain your operation. One thing that I would like to add on the borrow function, it will not be a one-on-one borrow in value. The loan to value will be around 20 to 30% of your staked value, and we'll monitor it and see if it makes sense to change the parameters there. But that's how we plan to start the feature of borrowing against your stake positions.
Derek, does that answer your question?
So what you could do, okay, good. What you could actually do, Derek, you borrow against your stake position, you get stable coins, you buy GRT, and you restake it. That's how people are looping right now in the space. But it's of course your own choice and how big of a risk appetite you have doing so.
All right, Salim, thank you so much for that explanation and for answering all those questions in great detail. There are two more comments, one from Darby and one from Johan. Darby is asking if there will be audits.
Yeah, so audits have been done by Holborn. The code has been looked at by people from the foundations themselves. The Graph even did an own audit, thanks to Martin. And we also have shared the code with LivePair and the Polygon developers. So yeah, security we take very seriously. There's not been found any critical issues on the audit so far, which we are very happy and proud about. And happy to share some details with you if you would like to see the report, Darby. No issue. Yeah, I think we'll be making those reports public soon. So real short summary on the participation right now. So we have more than 30 validator partners on all the three networks. We are around 10 million TVL on pre-commits before launch, which is about 10 times more than Tenderize V1. So we're really happy about how the community is receiving our new version and love the validator-specific LST that we bring to the market.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And please reach out to us again once you have more awesome updates on Tenderize. Cool.
Yeah, I'll surely do that. When we are really close to launch, I'll send you a message.
Yep, sounds good. Cool. Before we conclude today's community talk, I want to remind everyone that the upcoming Indexer office hours will be held today at 1800 UTC, so in about 70 minutes. And also don't forget to check the monthly core dev updates on the forum. The links were shared here, but you can also easily find them on the Graph forum. And thank you for joining us on this episode of Community Talk. We will now open up the floor for Q&A. If you have no more questions, then I wish you a great day and I hope to see you again next month. So thank you guys.